Didn't you remember Triumph, the insult comic dog? Remember Triumph?
No,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Of course.
No one knows what that is. I've got some names for us.
Wait a minute, hold on for a second. You guys don't know who Triumph is?
No, I really don't.
I was born in 1992, man.
He's still around, but he was a huge staple of the Conan O'Brien show. How is this possible? There you go. That is Triumph, the insult comic dog.
I've never seen that in my life.
Yeah, the 240p quality tells me this was in 1979.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Happy Friday! Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I guess Triumph drinks for free.
Damn right he does. He's an American hero. He's a damn American hero. He's a legend. He's an icon. And what's great is America has not forgotten about him. Maybe because, Jay, you are not American. Maybe because Connor secretly is Canadian. Maybe the two of you not actually patriots. Maybe you didn't understand, but everyone else did. I will give you credit. You put up a poll at Croucher JD.
Sure.
And here are the results of the poll. Jay tweeting out, do you know who Triumph the Insult Comic Dog is? Please also state your age. This is very important. You tagged myself, Connor, and producer Steven. 75% 35 or older, 34 or older said yes. 33 or younger, 9% said yes. That is 84% of the audience.
That's so. Everyone is.
And there's thousands and thousands of people voted in this poll. It is
almost 7,000.
Yeah, it is. That is a more than enough to be statistically relevant. Again, 84% of the people polled know exactly who Triumph, the insult comic dog, is. An American icon.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
So in the group chat, I'm getting piled on, being like, oh, Crouch, you put up this poll and it's backfired on you. My whole point was that only old people know who this is, and thus only old people know who he is.
The point was proven.
No, I disagree. More people under age 33 knew who he was than answered either of your other questions.
No, it was a tie. It was 9% for people under 33 who knew, so we're in the 50% of people under 33 who don't know who he is.
First off, neither of you are under 33.
You know you're on a team with this.
Connor is.
Oh, what do you mean? I'm 32
I'm
years
sorry,
old.
look at that. Yes, 33 or younger, 9.1%. No, 33 or younger, 8.9%. That is a loss.
Well,
that is a big L. That is a loss.
Here is the absolute shameful disgrace of it all. What really was revealed beyond the results of this poll is that backup producer Pete is a scumbag.
Yeah.
He's a scumbag.
Wow. Yeah,
he was voting on his own account. Yes, for the young group. Backup producer, and not only did he do that, and then he also did it from the Sims account.
Right.
As well.
He runs the Sims Unbuttoned account. Whatever. That's two votes.
Tomfoolery.
It's still
that we know of. The collusion.
Think so?
Is out of control.
You think America stuffed the ballot box here?
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
You want to call Dominion?
Yeah.
Are you got concerns there? Look, the fact of the matter is that everyone knows, and people were sending me tweets about. We don't have the rights to show it at the moment, but go on YouTube and search up Triumph at the opening of Star Wars Phantom Menace is pretty amazing. Honestly, him going to Comic-Con, also great. There's a lot of different great.
It was a good act. When I went on YouTube.
Did you guys?
Yes.
This is a question.
No, I refused.
The one in the group chat I watched.
The one in the group chat, that was him opening up when he went to the opening of the Star Wars movie. Yeah, for the 10% that don't know, like these two, Triumph is the idea was like the old. You ever heard of Don Rickles? You guys know you've never heard of Don Rickles?
No.
Did he
play with Rod Carew?
Yeah. He's famous insult comic way back in the day. That one's fair that you maybe don't know who Don Rickles is, but that was the idea. There used to be a brand of comic that was like an insult comic, and that was the idea of it. But the dumbness, it's a dog puppet. Anyway, I thought it was brilliant its day. I think it's still brilliant. The guy who does it, Robert Smigel, is one of the all-time great writers and comedians of our time, and you guys are heathens for not knowing about it. I am glad that America knows exactly who the hell Triumph, the insult comic dog is.
It's a great win for old people. Win for old people.
It's a great win for old people.
Yeah,
1,000%.
Showing out at the polls. Along with producer Pete and his 35
backup
X
Pete.
accounts.
Third
string.
Stop it. The two of you, you know what? Take an L graciously. For
Never.
once
no L to take.
Yeah, you guys lost.
What, should the Chargers take an L for last night? They won on the scoreboard.
Just
take an L, Justin Herbert.
You guys are not the Chargers.
We proved the demographic is old people.
The two of you are Sean Payton.
I
You
wouldn't
guys
go that
lost. Of all the choices, it was your vote was third. Under 33,
nope.
no,
That's
got 8.9%. That was the third
violently
lowest
wrong
amount of
reframing
votes.
of the results.
I'm right on this.
Yeah. Well, Triumph the Comic, apparently he debuted in 1997.
Yeah.
Which again, I was 5 years old. I love you taking
You
umbrage with the
debuted
idea
in
that I'm
92.
under 33. I'm literally under 33. I'm 32 years old.
All I know is, you're constantly with it's like Detlef Schrempf going to the hole. You've got 400-year-old NBA references, but apparently, a comedic icon that's been part of our lives for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
it completely escapes you.
Strange how Triumph the Comic insult. You never made a real dent in Melbourne, Victoria, where I grew up. I'm literally not from this country. I don't know who this is. I'm not a part of this.
Yeah,
Detlef Schrempf resonates all across all the hemispheres.
Yeah, okay,
The good news is we'll have Denny Carter on in just a moment. We can get Denny's thoughts on all of this.
Yeah, but please.
Now,
Denny will know who he is.
Denny's an old soul.
Denny's
Denny
an old
will.
person.
If it's what minus 1,200 that Denny will know.
Oh, I'd back that.
1,000%.
I'd back that. But yeah,
Denny's a cultured man.
Denny's 59 years old, so of course he
No,
knows who he is.
Denny is a man of culture and taste.
He'll also tell us what the mainstream media doesn't want us to know, as he always does on Fridays. We'll preview some of the highest scoring games of Week 16, of course, with the point totals. But before we do any of that, let's recap Thursday Night Football. Broncos, Chargers, a big night for Justin Herbert, who throws for 284 yards, 2 touchdowns. He does throw that tough pick down in the red area late, but also 8 rushes for 28 yards. Matthew,
By the way, when they were trying to run at the clock, he got -7. He actually had more rushing yards, -17 rushing
deep
yards.
kneels.
Right,
Yeah.
the deep kneels. I mean, there are going to be fantasy matchups that lose because
True.
somebody's going
Had
to
to
lose
be
that
about-
1.7 points.
I say it had to be almost 9 to 12 yards.
Oh yeah.
Listen, if the Josh Allen Amari Cooper touchdown is going to count as a passing touchdown for Josh Allen, we need to just take kneels out of rushing yards. It's
I
just not
agree.
the spirit. It's just ridiculous. That's not a rush. It's a kneel. It's different. So we're going to change that.
And by the way, and when you do Justin Herbert under, I don't know what the line was yesterday, but Justin Herbert under 2.5 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
And when they take the kneels, those count as rushing
that's right.
attempts.
Very
Those,
silly.
for betting purposes, that's also
It's
ridiculous.
very
too.
funky.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about if you had an alt line of 30-plus rushing yards.
That would also suck.
There's people out there that had that
Oh, I'm
parlays,
sure. Oh,
and they lost
1,000%.
it. He ends up with 28.
Horrible.
So tough biz in that department. But a huge win for the Chargers, who now a sidebar. The Bengals are all of a sudden alive in the playoff hunt because of this
Yes.
Broncos loss. It's going to get really interesting down the stretch. Back to
They got a chance.
They have a chance. They have to win out.
They have to win out, but they control their own destiny. If they win this week against Cleveland and DTR, and you feel good about those
8.5
chances,
point favorites.
right? Then they play the Broncos next week. I mean, it's going to be head to head, and so if they beat the Broncos, then you go to week 18. I forget who the Bengals play, but the Broncos play the
Bengals play the
Chiefs.
Steelers. So the Steelers may have the division wrapped up by
Right.
that point.
Steelers might be resting, and the Chiefs may need to win that game to keep the Bills off their heels for the number 1 seed.
Yeah. There's a lot, they need other stuff too. They need
Yes.
the Dolphins to take a loss. They need the Colts to take a loss. But
Right.
at least now it's not like a 200-1 type of thing.
Yeah.
Now it's more like a 19-1 type of thing.
And I will just say this. I am rooting for the Bengals to sneak in.
We all want them in.
Yeah,
It's entertainment.
It's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase deserve to be in the playoffs after the season they've had.
I want to see Anthony Richardson in there completing 44% of his passes.
Stop it. Proud Fantasy Life
ridiculous.
investor Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, by the way. Just want to mention that.
Yeah, I know. It's noted.
Yeah. Please
Good
do.
night for Ladd McConkey. Catches all
Triumph
6
the,
of his targets.
Insult Comic Dog, not a proud Fantasy Life
Not yet.
investor.
Not yet.
Yet.
Yes.
But we will reach out to him. We would love to have the dog
Yeah.
on the cap table.
Yeah, good.
As we look at the Chargers receiving leaders, Ladd McConkey gets the bulk of the target share here.
He was McConkulous.
Turns
last
that
night.
into 87 yards. He really is just incredible. Feels like he's always open. Josh Palmer with the unbelievable.
That was amazing.
One of the catches of the year. The 2-point conversion,
Tipped
tipped
it up
it
to
to
his-
himself.
right.
It looked like it was going into the stands.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he just tips the ball up and catches it.
It's like, and it's not like he tipped it. Like he had to twist to tip it up.
Yeah,
like he had
the
to,
body control was insane. Drag the back foot.
Yeah, just incredible play. And the other
exactly
thing
what
that
it looked like.
Yeah, it didn't look anything like that. But the other thing is that and the Palmer's play was so good that I think it sort of overshadowed the touchdown pass to Darius Davis,
Oh, it's
and that
insane.
was ridiculous.
It's one of the best throws I've ever seen.
Herbert going to his left off basically 1 foot and just flicks it to Darius Davis in stride for a touch. I was watching. I was like, and I literally said "holy," and I said a word that I won't say on TV here. And my wife was like, "What?" Like she was half on Instagram, half watching the game. I'm like, Justin Herbert just made one of the most ridiculous throws I've ever seen in my life.
I think you said that same word when we brought to your attention that the NFL Twitter account was tweeting out the Ladiator as the nickname for McConkulus.
Stop it. He's not a gladiator.
Now,
I'm sorry. He's 185 pounds.
I get it, to be fair, but last night because he's playing banged up. So that gives him a gladiator element, right? It's kind of Greek, heroic. He's playing to his banged up ankle.
I guess so.
His shoulder, too. Like, he's pretty beat up, yeah.
I don't know. The gladiator just feels like it's trying too hard.
It's a little silly.
Yes.
McConkulus is also ridiculous.
Yes, but it's ridiculous in a fun way. Yeah, gladiator's just trying too hard.
Yeah, I don't know where I land. McConkulus is good, and I tell you when your nicknames are terrible.
Yes, you do.
Just to be fair.
No, it's
McConkulus is.
Makes you think.
I'm going to roll with that for now.
Yeah,
The best part is if you love both, you can say both.
You can indeed.
Gladiator McConkulus.
Yeah, I got to get a hold of whoever runs the NFL social account and be like, really, the gladiator? Let's start pushing the McConkulus. Yeah, but no, you guys are always honest. You know, that is one thing I will say about the two of you.
You don't have two people that just agree with you.
I don't mind
You didn't want
McConkulus.
that. And boy, did you get what you wanted.
You set the bar low with CSUT, but McConkulus is certainly better than that. That Justin Herbert throw, and this is probably been better throws, but I can't remember better throws since remember the Stafford no-look one in the Super Bowl? Like, that's, to me, like the coolest throw. But like the Herbert throw, because as they mentioned on the broadcast, it looked like he was about to throw it away.
Yeah,
and then the last second was like, I'm just going to throw a 100th percentile difficulty touchdown pass instead.
Well, he saw Darius Davis, and by the way, I mean, Darius Davis is like the 5th or 6th option in that passing offense as well. Like,
you have to check if he's active.
Right.
That's where we're at usually.
Yeah, I mean, he's usually a special teams guy.
Right.
I mean, they talked about it. I think that was his first career receiving touchdown. He scored a special teams one, but anyway, just a ridiculous play. But back to McConkey, 5th straight game now with at least 14 or more fantasy points. So much attention on Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brian Thomas Jr., etc. McConkey has been almost as good as all of them from a rookie perspective. I don't know if it's because he doesn't have a cool nickname yet, or because he's a West Coast team, or because he just didn't come in with nearly as much hype as some of those other guys, or Adunze, that he isn't getting nearly the accolades that I think he should.
I mean, he's impacted winning and
100%.
More than any of those players because he's doing it on a meaningful team. I guess the Cardinals are meaningful as well in terms of their playoff pursuit, but MHA hasn't had the same impact. But look, and he did it as well. Like, he caught every single one of his targets. It's clearly he's laboring a little bit, but just his ability to get out there. We'll see what they do next week. They've effectively clinched the playoff spot now. They're 97%, so it'll take a lot to go wrong for the Chargers.
Yeah, they're at New England next week. They've got the mini bye to prepare for that. By the way, McConkey, this is now his 8th straight game with at least 50 receiving yards. So just a really nice floor there for McConkey every single week. So if you survive until next week, you can enjoy being McConkulus one more time.
You want to talk about the Gus bus?
Yeah, it was a real treat. As I said on the show, my best bet for this game was Gus Edwards' longest rush under 10.5 yards. Watching the whole game, he even gets really banged up, it felt like, right before the half. It didn't look good. He was walking really weird to the sideline. They barely used him in the third quarter, just a little bit. Guys, before that run on the last drive, that was a 43-yard run. Yeah. On a night, he has 14 rushes for 68 yards, including a 43-yard run on the last drive. Now, he gets the 2 touchdowns, which is great if you had to play him in fantasy. He had 13 rushes for 25 yards. That's less than 2 yards per carry.
1.9 yards per carry without the 43-yard broken tackle run.
I saw Chargers fans begging to play Haskins and Vidal.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to have 68 rushing yards, including a 43-yarder in that, and average less than 5 yards per carry?
I mean, it's unbelievable, right? I mean, like, if I told you, Gus Edwards has 68 rushing yards, and it took him 14 carries to get there, right? And one including a 43. Yeah. Like, to your point, every other rush was under 2 yards per carry. He fell in the end zone twice, and I got some grief on social media, like, oh, Barry, you told us not to play Gus Edwards. You're damn right I did.
He hasn't been viable for weeks.
And I would have again. Like, I think I actually said, like, hey, there's a chance he falls into the end zone, which he ended up doing twice.
Right.
But, like, it was 100% the right call. I will tell you this. I'm in the dynasty league that I was talking about. Like, I ended up beating Mike Clay last week. So this is a dynasty league that I'm with a bunch of my friends from ESPN. I actually played Daniel Dopp, Secret Squirrel, in the semifinals. And so it's a deep 25-man roster, 12-team league. It goes deep. And I have Gus Edwards in that league. I also have J.K. Dobbins. I did not start Gus Edwards in that league because, again, like, he doesn't catch passes. It's a half-point PPR league. And his only viable path to fantasy viability is if he falls in the end zone, which he did twice last night. But okay, like the
Broncos have a good defense coming into this
The Broncos
game.
had a very good defense. He got banged up. We didn't know what the distribution was going to be. Vidal and Haskins looked like the better running backs. It was just sort of, so that's a long way of saying, like, I am completely fine. I woke up this morning feeling, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I missed out on 19 points or whatever it was from Gus Edwards in that league scoring, but, like, I made the right call. It just sometimes it doesn't work out, but, like, you have to play the odds, and I have no issues with, and nor should any of you if Gus Edwards is sitting on your bench, because I assume he is in most leagues.
Also, good call, though, Matthew. Cameron Dicker does have his 2 field goals because one of the stories of the night before the half, the 57-yard free kick, which Coach Harbaugh talks about after the game. He's been trying to get this free kick for years, apparently.
Free kick, yeah. Let's talk about it, yeah. Cam Dicker on the free kick.
What was the process there?
It's my favorite rule in football. And just been trying to get one of those, like, every game,
You've been trying to get one of those?
Yeah. It's the first one we've made. We tried one with the 49ers. I think it was like a 70-yarder or something. 71, thanks. Mr. Dawson, probably a little. I wanted it so bad that I tried a 71-yarder, but it is my favorite rule, and Cam Dicker stepped up and nailed it.
Yeah, he did.
Favorite rule.
He genuinely looked like the happiest person
he
ever.
really did.
Happy. My favorite rule is ineligible man downfield, by the way.
Yes, everybody loves that when it's called and ruins the most fun plays in football. Or when it's not called, when it should be.
Yeah.
But it was my favorite one is when you fumble on the 1 yard line, goes to the end zone.
The touchback rule?
The touchback rule.
So
That one is the worst.
No,
That
I'm
one's the worst
not
rule.
with you there.
We're
That's
all
the most
begging for it
valuable
to
real
go.
estate on the field. You should be punished if you fumble.
You
at the
shouldn't be
1 yard line.
punished. I don't want to. We're going to drill into a debate about that. No, you shouldn't be punished to the extent that it shouldn't be different than any other fumble. I'm sorry. You're already being penalized because you're fumbling in the most valuable territory. So, like, yeah.
You know what rule I've grown to
It should
despise
be at the 1 yard line.
this year is horse collar tackle.
I
Because now we've reached a point where, imagine, number one, tackling someone who's 6'6", 230 pounds. And there's a lot of quarterbacks that are gigantic and fast now. But, like, if you're not, like, digging the shoulder pad out and throwing a guy by them, you're just reaching and you kind of fall towards the nameplate. They call it all the time now.
No, the worst is the unnecessary roughness, the low bar against quarterbacks. The one
Correct.
last night, like Daniel Day, Justin Herbert last night with the
Yeah.
acting job for the ages. Like,
Yeah.
why are we treating quarterbacks like deities? Like, why do they get?
Well, I'll tell you why.
I know
they're the
because
reason
they
people
mean
watch
a lot.
games.
But still, it's like
That's why they
come
paid
on,
$55
that last night was
million.
ridiculous.
Right.
No, I agree with you.
You understand how bad a quarterback has to be for you to put Micah Parsons on the graphic instead of.
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's the problem.
That's the thing. Like,
guess. But it's not very- it's not
whatever.
right.
It's Patrick Mahomes versus C.J. Stroud, right? It ain't it ain't
Carson
Nico
Wentz
Collins
versus-
versus versus DeAndre Hopkins. Whether rightfully or wrongfully, that's the reason why. But I am with you, Jay, in the sense that like call it when it's real. But like some of these if after the throw and they just get pushed a little bit, they're flopping. They're like Vlade Divac. There's a reference you
There
get.
you go.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Dicker the kicker, Harbaugh, very exciting. That was a very fun play. It was a very entertaining game last night overall.
Back and
There's
forth.
so much happening.
Yeah, there was a lot
Even
going on.
on the Broncos side.
Especially on the Broncos
Yeah.
side. One thing that didn't happen was the ball getting to Cortland Sutton. You didn't hit your Gus Edwards
No, in the
prop.
last
I did
Chargers
not
drive.
I did not.
Where I was
I
called.
took Cortland Sutton over 60.5. He only gets 50 yards, so he falls short. It was his lowest target share since week 7, 15%. Only one deep target. It's weird. I don't know if Bo Nix was like hurt or his arm was a little bit banged up. Like just
Bo Nix just isn't. He's not all that.
I mean, maybe not, but he'd been productive, and they'd taken deep shots to Sutton and Mims and Franklin before, and just I don't know if it's how the Chargers. I watched the game live. I didn't watch like the all 22 or anything like that, so I don't know if they were playing them back significantly, and he just the dink and dunk stuff is what was open to him. But it was
He had the game-winning touchdown to Marvin Mims down the right side and just underthrew the ball. Though, to be
Yes.
fair, that was definitely pass interference.
But you know what? I'm glad they didn't reward an
Yeah,
awful
true.
throw.
Fair.
It drives
Yeah.
me insane when they reward a terrible throw.
Yep.
So
No, it's the great inefficiency that teams should continue to exploit, the
Yes.
underthrown deep ball, because it
Yeah.
just leads to pass interference every time. But just because physically you have to run back towards the ball into a corner who's coming, like It just is what it is. But it wasn't an intentional one from Bo Nix.
No, but they're at Cincinnati next week in a must-win game, and so I think if you survive, I think you're rolling with Nix and Sutton. And certainly both those. Really nice game for Bo Nix. Frustrating. I played against him in like 3 different leagues, including against my buddy Daniel Dopp. He had Nix as his quarterback in that league. Most fantasy points since week 11. He's now had back-to-back games with 20 or more rushing yards. Again, we saw that earlier in the season where he was getting a lot of fantasy points with the rushing, so it's nice to see him use his legs in this one as well. But to me, the biggest story of this Denver offense was the running backs and the mixture of it. And your boy, Audric Estime.
Just when we thought he was out.
Right.
He's all the way back in.
He's back in.
Kind of.
Yeah, what'd you see?
Fun first half. I mean, you get the downhill running. He's really good in the red zone, especially the goal line area. But unfortunately, and this is kind of the case with Audric Estime, and especially on this team, he's not going to factor in the pass game at all, and they completely got away from him in the second half.
Look at that smile, by the way. That's a great photo of Estime.
Well, look at the contrast.
Yes.
Javonte Williams is like, I've been through some stuff over the last couple of years. Audric Estime is like, I'm so happy to be in the NFL.
It really is. When you look at these 2 photos, Audric Estime is like, I'm in the NFL, man. I'm happy.
This rules.
And Javonte Williams is like, listen, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah.
This is like,
multiple ligament tears. My coach doesn't know when he wants to give me the ball.
Yeah.
It's been hard out here.
Yeah. By the way, we'll get into the Alvin Kamara injury later, but Javonte Williams doing his best PPR cheat code, Alvin Kamara, 7 receptions for just 29 yards, but it salvages his fantasy day here as Estime gets in the end zone. The fullback got in as well. It was a weird scoring night for especially on Denver's side of the ball.
Yeah, it was. And look, this backfield, good luck figuring it out. I think for the most part, Javonte is still the guy that you want because of the pass game usage and because so much of what Bo Nix has been doing has been dink and dunk. He's been so yak dependent, and that is the scheme. So, but yeah, ideally, it's a favorable matchup against the Bengals next week. But I mean, with the season on the line, fantasy championship weekend, you really want to go down with the Broncos backfield?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday. Like, I don't want a part of the Broncos backfield because he just and that proved correct because, I mean, I guess whatever. Again, you got bailed out with Javonte Williams. He got you 12 fantasy points, which you can live with. But, not what you want from probably your RB2, which is where you potentially were starting him.
No, you don't feel like you could start Estime. I mean, he only got 9 carries. You're happy he fell into the end zone.
Yes.
And you love that, his style fits with the in between the 20s of the offense. But, yeah, there's just no sustainability with this backfield right now.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible backfield.
Let's take a look
frustrating backfield.
Let's take a look at
Terrible
the.
backfield. For fantasy, it's a frustrating backfield.
One of the worst backfields I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Hope they all retire.
of all time.
Them and Tyler Lockett.
Audric Estime's
right
gonna
off
retire
into the
this year.
sunset.
It's a kind of backfield for me to poop on. There you go. That's a Triumph thing. There you go. You guys don't get it. But
Yeah, I do now.
The audience at home,
I still
they
don't
laughed
get it.
at it.
How about the Week 16 injuries we're tracking? You brought up Alvin Kamara, Matthew. He's very possible not playing this weekend with that groin injury, which, by the way, you're playing Stupid Dev in fantasy, who is really relied on Alvin Kamara. Some people are calling you the luckiest man in fantasy sports.
Well, it's finally nice that something has gone my way in fantasy sports. It's been a long time.
He also has Tony Pollard, who's next on the list.
There
dealing
you
with
go.
his ankle injury that's lingered for a while now.
Stupid Dev has a very, very good team, very deep. He's still got he's got Kyren Williams, he's got Aaron Rodgers who's suddenly good. He shouldn't be getting fantasy points
That
from Aaron
part is
Rodgers.
fluky.
I have Jaden Daniels who's going to have to face the Eagles tough listen, believe me, Dev is going to be just fine. I'm very nervous about our matchup.
America
I'm
wants Dev.
Very nervous. But go back to that full screen for one quick second here. Kendra Miller, I just want to talk about here. As you see Alvin Kamara and kind of the injuries we're tracking, there's a chance that not only that Kamara misses this week, but just misses the rest of the season. It's a lost season for New Orleans. So Kendra Miller, we've talked about him earlier in the week about, hey, pick him up just in case this thing happens, and it has. He's had 2 games with 12 or more touches. He's averaging 14 fantasy points per game in those games. Worth noting the Packers allow the 8th most fantasy points to opposing running backs since Week 12. So Kendra Miller in a game that should be cold in Green Bay is due for a big workload as well. We got to get into, you see Isaac Guerendo there. We should talk about the Niners backfield a little bit. That news came out after we taped yesterday that that Guerendo is not expected to play this Sunday.
Against the Dolphins. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, so you're the master of 49ers backfield roulette.
Yeah.
That's the one blessing of my fantasy season now being over in our league. I don't have to think about Patrick Taylor or Isaac Guerendo. But, I mean, We don't know what the situation is going to be, but I think Patrick Taylor is the safest option, quote-unquote safest.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got 70% of the non-Guerendo running back touches since McCaffrey went on IR. Remember, of course, him and Jordan Mason went on at the same time. So when Guerendo wasn't in there, 70% of the touches went to Patrick Taylor. He's the guy I have ranked the highest. But I do think you will see Izzy Abanikanda.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
You're skeptical every time.
I'm never sure I nail the name.
Yeah.
But I do, we like Izzy a little bit as a prospect.
He's a great fit in the offense.
Yeah,
explosive outside zone speed.
Yeah, so I could see this being, and you've also got Tampa Bay Buccaneers legend Keyshawn Vaughn in the mix there.
Yippee.
Yeah. Well, but by the way, there's also Kyle Juszczyk is probably going to all of a sudden get 3 carries or something like that. Maybe one in the,
Debo
on goal.
carries.
Debo, exactly. So this just feels like, this is what I tweeted out. I have Patrick Taylor basically as a borderline top 30 play this week. So if you have to pick one, I suppose it's Taylor. I have a sneaky suspicion that Izzy could get hot, and that I feel like it's going to be a running back by committee, and Shanahan's just going to ride the hot hand. And I just actually like Abanikanda. Yes? There we go. Abanikanda.
There we go.
I actually like him better as a prospect than Taylor. I think Taylor's a sort of just a guy.
Exactly.
And so I actually like Izzy's profile better. So it's just whether he can get on the field and get a shot here. I mean, games in Miami, the Dolphins are a top over the last 4 weeks. The Dolphins are I had this, where's my note here? Oh, sorry. I'm missing it on my note. Oh, they're the 6th best run defense over the last 4 weeks. Yeah, I knew it was a top 10. So they're the 6th best. So fantasy playoffs. If you're desperate, I suppose Taylor. If you're desperate, if you're in a crazy deep league and you want to take a flyer, I guess Izzy. But ideally, you're avoiding this backfield altogether until we see how it plays out.
I would say it is extremely likely that Patrick Taylor is only going to give you what you want if he gets in the end zone. He's going to be goal line dependent, effectively.
Yeah, a Gus Edwards-esque expectations.
Yes. 14 for 50 feels right for Patrick Taylor with maybe
on the
two catches for
9 yards.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say 15, but yeah, I mean, I think something like that, and then you're going to need him to fall into the end zone. Yeah. It's the playoffs, and there's just so much uncertainty about the 49ers backfield, and all of this. To me, that's a big risk to take. If Guerendo was playing, you'd feel better about that because you know that he's been getting the majority of the workload. But now you're they're literally down to their 5th and 6th string running back.
Yep.
Good news if you've been waiting on Kenneth Walker's return because he was a full participant in Thursday's practice for Seattle. Bad news if you've been riding Zach Charbonnet to the fantasy championship. He was limited during Thursday's practice with an oblique. So now the classic Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet flip.
Yeah, Walker looks like he's going to get to go for the Seahawks. And for live at noon on the cock. There you go.
Man in fantasy sports.
I have him against Stupid Dev. I have been riding Charbonnet into the finals of the semifinals of the Scott Fish Bowl. Ooh. Started with over 4,000 people. It's down to the final 250. I've actually made it in the 250. Josh Jacobs and Zach Charbonnet the last couple of weeks have carried the team. So no Charbs for that squad. We'll figure that out. But Walker, I think you're firing him right up. You're excited about this.
Yeah, exactly. It would be interesting to see if there is a bit more of a timeshare than there was. They've just flipped between if Ken Walker's healthy, then he's a workhorse, and if Ken Walker's out, then Zach Charbonnet is a workhorse. Sure seems like it would make more sense if they just kind of make a more even share, given that they're both banged up. But certainly Ken Walker is the guy that you want in this backfield now.
The game's in Seattle against Minnesota. Minnesota hasn't been great against the run recently, but Charbonnet being a little bit banged up, bodes well for Walker. Either way, though, I do think regardless of the status of Charbonnet, and yes, maybe lower expectations if he's fully active and maybe he's earned a bigger role, but feels like if Ken Walker's active, you're starting Ken Walker. Don't get cute. Yep. Don't get silly.
Let's take a look at the top waiver ads. These guys are available in at least 50% of leagues right now. Aaron Rodgers and Drake May are the quarterbacks. Rodgers a top 10 play. Drake May a top 12 play. Yeah. Kendre Miller, Alexander Madison, Patrick Taylor all sneak into the top 30 at running backs. Right outside is Amir Abdullah. Jalen McMillan has found himself some targets in this Bucs offense. He's a top 40 play there, Matthew.
Nice matchup this week against Dallas. 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And what do you know? Hunter Henry, still available.
Not often talked about during waivers.
I know. The the best part of the season being over is I'll never have to talk about Hunter Henry again.
He'll find a way. He'll find a way.
Yeah. We'll just send the group text.
He's
be like, guys.
He's like Michael Myers in Halloween. Just when you think he's gone, he comes back.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry. He cannot escape him.
For an 8th act. Brenton Strange, by the way, tight end 13.
Yep.
He's got the Raiders. Decent matchup for him, and it's been a bit of a target workhorse from Mac Jones. And I'll tell you who likes Brenton Strange. Big fan of Brenton Strange. Denny Carter.
Unsurprising.
Yes, a very good fit. Who joins us every Friday. Let's hit the Denny music.
So we want to counter this horrible, deceitful, untrue narrative that's going around that Woody Johnson, quote, doesn't know what he's doing and, quote, has no business managing a football team.
Quote, has the impulse control of a 4-year-old.
If you're looking at the analytics, Woody Johnson was correct. And you will start here with, the signing of Aaron Rodgers 2 off seasons ago. And people would say, well, that's the downfall of the current iteration of the Jets. Last I checked, which was about 7 minutes ago, on the Madden rating online, last I checked, our guy Aaron Rodgers has a 77 Madden rating, and you know who that's better than? It's better than, I don't know, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy. Ever heard of them? The rookie quarterbacks for this year. So who won in the end? Aaron Rodgers won, the Jets won. Woody, again, did nothing wrong.
What the mainstream media doesn't want you to know, the last man standing defending Woody Johnson on this great planet Earth.
The mainstream media does not want you to know what a great man Woody Johnson is, but you're
brave.
uncovering it.
You're brave, Denny.
Somebody's got to do it. It's not fair, Connor. Are you
me.
with me? Did Woody do anything wrong?
I think I'm finally out.
Finally.
Yes. After 33 years, it's I don't know.
I tried,
about it.
man.
Yeah, who would you rather have as an owner of your, now that Snyder is gone, who would you rather have as an owner of your professional football team, Woody Johnson or David Tepper?
Oh, Tepper.
Tepper. That's got to be
Tepper,
Tepper.
yes.
He spends and tries. He just doesn't do a great job with it. But
Yeah. Wow. What a comeback for
Panthers made the
Tepper.
Super Bowl somewhat recently.
yeah, but he wasn't the owner then.
I know,
Yeah.
but still.
And this is Ron Rivera, a favorite of this show.
Exactly.
I have
They
to
deserve
say,
each
guys,
other.
the Triumph thing, by the way, this is a generational gap, a generational war between me and Matthew versus Jay and Connor,
Yeah,
okay?
old versus young.
Yeah, I mean, you guys don't know. You guys are born. Are you Zoomers? I think you're Zoomers, right?
I don't know. I just know that you guys are on the way
Okay.
out, and me and
Well,
Connor are leading the charge for the new generation. so I'd rather
I'm
be on our
an
side.
elderly millennial. I think Barry's a Gen Xer, right? So
Yeah.
we know these things, right? Robert Smigel, great cartoons on SNL for years, right?
For years.
And you guys don't. So this is a generational gap, and I'm sorry to see it.
Yeah,
We're fine with that, by the way.
But don't you think, Denny? Don't you think these young kids today they should learn from the people that came before them? That like exactly. If it wasn't for the path blazed by a rubber puppet dog, the two of you wouldn't be sitting here today.
You know where you started to lose me? I just want to be honest. I was actually into it until Pete joined forces with you.
Yeah.
And then we were out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine.
that's
I'm going to go
fine.
home
It's not
tonight.
you guys.
Yeah.
It's your allies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or ally.
Wow.
No, I respect what you. I'm going to go home tonight, watch Casablanca, Citizen Kane,
Citizen
the
Kane,
comic,
nice.
the insult the dog, whatever.
And by the way,
Great.
I'm not
Catch up on
59,
history.
Jay. I'm 41.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
take
Sure.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Still old.
Oh, man. Anyway, Denny, before any of you reveal the players that the networks are once again ruthlessly
from us.
hiding from us, we've had enough of it. What did you think about the free kick last night? I feel like you were probably the second in command of the happiest man besides Harbaugh.
I was standing up for it. I actually stood up off the couch and I was like, oh my God, it's happening. This is what we've been waiting for literally 50, it's been 50 years since this has happened in the NFL. I know Jim Harbaugh said he was waiting for it. I have been too. I actually think we need to have no pass or no rush at the kicker if they're going to attempt a kick of, say, 70 plus yards. I think that would bring a level of excitement to the game for me that's not there right now.
Yeah, I think it's also been 50 years since a man wore a black long sleeve shirt under a maroon T-shirt.
That's a
also-
grunge era.
That's
It's
quite
the
This is
90s.
what, this is what we used to wear in the early 2000s.
unbelievable. Yeah, that's when comic was really surging back then.
That was the peak of triumph.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Denny, tell me.
All right, Denny. Yeah, listen. You've been on the dark web. You've scoured the internets. You watch all the major news networks, and yet there's things that they try to keep from us. The mainstream media tries to hide true information from us. What can you let us know about this week?
Yeah, there's a guy on the Cowboys no one talks about, Brandin Cooks. Okay, I just discovered him the other day doing some research. Brandin Cooks has 2 touchdowns over his past 3 games. Didn't hear about that anywhere. He matches up against a Tampa secondary, a Tampa defense that ranks as the most extreme pass funnel defense in the league. You can read more about that on my funnel defense report on RotoWorld. And this game features the highest total of the week, this Cowboys-Bucks game. So I think Brandin Cooks is a possible flex if you're kind of desperate.
Look, 2 of the last 3, and he's returned from the IR in 3 games, and in 2 of those 3 games, he's had at least an 18% target share. He's gotten 3 end zone targets, to your point, Denny, about the scoring. And yeah, it is a nice matchup against Tampa Bay, who struggles in the secondary. Cooper Rush looked better last week. So, again, as a desperation streamer, I could sort of buy it. And you're absolutely right. No one in the mainstream media, they're keeping Brandin Cooks from us.
I never heard of him.
Yeah, they won't talk about him. Absolutely not. They don't want us to know.
Yeah. Denny,
right.
I like that as a company man, you're loading up on featured human beings in Sunday Night Football. So tell me about Jalen McMillan, who has not been much covered. I think a lot of people moved on. The mainstream media moved on from the Bucs after Chris Godwin went down. But what can you tell us about Jalen McMillan?
Well, yeah, I think they moved on, Jay, because when asked about Jalen McMillan, all of the Bucs coaches said, I never heard of him. Don't know the kid. But he has actually emerged over the past couple weeks. He has 134 yards and 3 touchdowns over the past 2 games in the Bucs offense, the pass first Bucs offense, I should say. In week 15, he ran a route on 26 of 30 dropbacks, which is a pretty solid rate. Had a 23% target share. The Bucs have an implied total of 26.5 here. This is going to be a shootout on the only legitimate network, NBC, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think McMillan could see some trickle-down benefits from a pass-heavy script here.
I watched an entire week of CNBC straight and Bravo. Jalen McMillan not mentioned on either network at all.
No, not a mention.
Not a mention.
You
Not
know
on
he's
USA,
rostered.
not on Sci-Fi, not on E. Maybe on Telemundo, I don't know. Again, I got a gentleman C from Senora Worley.
Denny, our next name here, I understand. I was one of 9 people watching Jets-Jags last week as part of my work at
The other
SNY.
rated dead, by the way. The other rated dead.
The only network that's talking about Brenton Strange was SNY because he's the latest slot merchant we have in the NFL. But unfortunately, we're just a local New York news network. We can't get the same kind of pub that these big networks get. What are you seeing in Brenton Strange?
I'm glad you are fighting the good fight, Connor, because Brenton Strange, the second most receptions in the entire NFL in Week 15. I'm not hearing about this anywhere. I hired social media interns to look through the coverage in all major newspapers. Not one mention of Brenton Strange, but he's in play as the main slot guy. Think of him as a slot receiver, and it might go down a little better this week. He ran the most slot routes for Jacksonville last week. I think the fact that the Jags' defense is so bad that they might actually just have to keep throwing and run their offense at a fast pace like they did last week. And I think that fuels volume for a guy like Brenton Strange. Can I also tell you something just totally sick, but I love it? 4.5 air yards per target for Brenton Strange last week. Now, you might say, oh, that's gross. No, that's beautiful. That's perfect. This is what we want. We just want PPR, scam, check down stuff from Mac Jones. Give me that all day. Brenton Strange, don't dump him if you had him last week. Keep him rolling.
Since week 7, Denny, no one talks about this either. Las Vegas is allowing the most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. This game is in Las Vegas on the turf. Brenton Strange has had 5 games this year with 4 more targets. He's averaging over 12 fantasy points per game in those games as well. So I am with you. If you need a tight end streamer this week.
Or a stranger.
Yeah, no. If you need a tight end streamer, get yourself some Strange. Get yourself some Strange.
Yes. People, before the season, they drafted Jonathan Taylor and Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, thinking these would be the men in the fantasy playoffs. But no, it's Brenton Strange and Stone.
It's Strange
who define this.
Strange season.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like seriously, open up like the Washington Post You won't see Brenton Strange
No,
anywhere in
no.
there.
There are also
on the back
rumors
pages.
that he will get to add an E to his last name if he scores a touchdown. Much like Stone Smart gets to keep adding T's to his name if he
Another
scores
E?
touchdowns.
We'll see if it can happen. Denny, thank you as always for joining us and enlightening us. More importantly, enlightening the people,
Where should
especially
people-
during this time of year.
Where should people follow you? Are they following you? Are you still posting on X? Or are you just Mr. Blue Sky now? All this you're killing it
on
over
the-
on
I'm
Blue
on the-
Sky. I learned.
I'm on the Sky, and then you can check me out on the Roto World Football Show, and all my work is on Roto World, including the Funnel Defense Report.
Yes, be sure to read Denny's Funnel Defense Report at NBCSports.com/fantasy. We're going to take our first break. When we're back, we preview some of the biggest games coming up this weekend, biggest point totals associated with those games. What's on tap is right after this.
I bet you somebody else runs their social media accounts and like, oh, we're going to keep doing this because we've got some sort of deal with Sega or whoever, Nintendo. And but did you notice that
How
Jameer?
cynical of you, Matthew.
Oh.
How cynical.
I'll tell you this.
more
Mike.
hate than love.
How about this? Did you see that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that quote? We just played sound from Jameer Gibbs. Literally, Jameer Gibbs is asked about David Montgomery being out, and you know what he does? He refers to him as Demo. He doesn't say like my guy Knuckles. He doesn't say my boy Knuckles. It's going to be tough to be Sonic out there without Knuckles. He said Demo, as in David Montgomery, short
Such
for
a
David Montgomery.
strange position
But
you've
no
taken on
one
this.
likes this nickname.
Everyone
except Mike.
likes it.
No one likes it. It's trying way too hard, and even they've bailed on it. Even Jameer Gibbs has bailed on it.
The YouTube comment of the day, which basically, Matthew, in short, called you full boomer hater on
Yeah.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Simon.
You said you prefer Simon and Garfunkel.
Right, there you go. By the way, he misspells Garfunkel.
Doesn't matter.
Is it, see there?
Yeah,
like,
the thought was what counts.
Still landed it.
It's a great comment.
Still landed it. You got
yeah,
crushed.
listen, let me tell you something. Sonic and Knuckles is a bad nickname. It's not as bad as @Trippy Commentaries. Like, let's be clear here. That's what the guy's name is. The comment is for those of you listening and can't see it. But like some guy or woman on YouTube @Trippy Commentaries, calling me in full boomer mode. By the way, I might be in full boomer mode, but not on this because those nicknames suck. They're trying way too hard. They're trying way too hard. Just like Trippy Commentaries. You could be trippy, you could be commentary, but it's not a trippy commentary. It's kind of a bitchy one. That should be your name, you commenter, @Bitchy Commentaries. Then I accept it. There we go. You heard me. You're damn right.
Word.
I stand by my comment about Sonic and Knuckles being a way trying too hard nickname.
Okay. You stand by CSUT being a
CSUT was just a bit. CSUT was just me trying to annoy you guys. But I'm right on this
Wow.
one.
With some other
And I got to be
jams.
honest with you. You know who else is sort of with me on this one? Is Connor J. Rogers
What do you mean?
on the Sonic and Knuckles trying too hard.
No. Lawrence is with you. I love the nickname.
Why do
Lawrence
you,
was
why
with
do you
me?
lie all the time? Why do you lie?
I absolutely love the
You're
nickname.
trying to
Okay,
like
maybe it was
push
Lawrence.
Tyler Lockett into retirement.
I like the Sonic universe. So I guess it's well done.
Just invent
Lawrence
mis-
was with you.
to invent
that's what it
mistruths. Yeah.
Listen, in fairness to me, you and Lawrence look a lot alike.
Yeah,
It's hard,
that's
easy
very
for me to
true.
get confused.
That's very true. All right, ringing the holiday season with a double dip of NFL football on NBC and Peacock this weekend. It all kicks off Saturday at noon Eastern as we lead you up to kickoff between the Texans and the Chiefs. Then on Sunday night, Baker Mayfield and the Bucs travel to Dallas for a date with the Cowboys.
Baker, Stroud, Mahomes, Micah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why quarterbacks are important because, you know,
That's why the rule book is the way it is.
yeah.
I'm not sure Cooper Rush is a quarterback.
He's been fine.
No, he hasn't. They go watch Monday Night Football.
He
against
lit up
them.
the Panthers last week.
What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here's the matchups with the highest point totals going into Week 16. Sundays are easy to enjoy when they are full of football, and the fridge is filled with beer. Here are the games we're locking in on. The highest point totals of the week, starting with that Sunday Night Football matchup. The Bucs are favored by 4 points in their trip to Dallas as we take a look at Matthew's top players for the game. More importantly, the over-under is set at 48 points. So Matthew, that Bucs backfield, can you start both Bucky Irving and Rachaad White?
I think you can. Obviously, it depends on the size of your league and who else you have, but you see it there. I have Bucky Irving at running back 16, and I have Rachaad White as a mid-tier flex. He's my running back 25. Let's talk about Bucky for a second here. In 6 of his last 8 healthy games, he's averaging over 15 fantasy points per game, averaging 95 yards from scrimmage in that, and also 5.6 yards per carry. He's kind of the anti-Gus Edwards. actually. He has been very, very effective. This offense has been moving the ball, and Bucky Irving is their lead guy. Meanwhile, Rachaad White, we talk about PPR scam artists. Rachaad White's kind of been a touchdown scam artist because it's been really kind of floated up by touchdowns. Since he returned in Week 7, he's the 9th best running back in fantasy. Now, he's got 9 total touchdowns in those 8 games, 3 rushing, 6 receiving, so they're using him in the receiving game much as he was last year. But I do think he's got a better than average shot of getting into the end zone. They are using him enough that he's worthwhile as a flex. I prefer Irving to White, but I do think both in this game environment with the way the Buccaneers offense is rolling, I'm in on both.
Yep, team total of 26.5, so should be plenty of opportunity for both these guys to score.
Our next one, Lions, Bears, same over-under, 48. Lions are favored by 6.5 points. Could be an interesting game script here. Jameson Williams is a top 30 wide receiver for Matthews, sneaking right in there. Although here I have him as wide receiver 33, Matthews, so maybe we've had a little change in rankings.
Yeah,
Well,
I think these graphics were built before the Thursday night game. What we do is we remove players from the Thursday night game, and they all move up. So he is currently wide receiver 29. He started the week as wide receiver 33.
So the question still stands, Jay. Do you start him?
I think it depends how much you want to lean into variance and whether you're an underdog in your matchup. I think that he's a viable flex guy, wide receiver 3. This Bears defense, it kind of reminds me of the Jets at the end of last year with their pass defense. They totally gave up in that game against Flacco, much to my chagrin. But I do think that with how their defense is struggling, with the fact that Jameson Williams, he's so dependent on the deep ball, and the Bears have been giving up a lot of deep passes, I do think he is a good high variance option if you're an underdog in your matchup.
Bottom 5 in yards and receptions allowed on deep passes. Connor, is it a scheme thing with the Bears defense? Are they just totally banged up? Like, what are you seeing there? Because I know a lot of people are wondering, after the huge game last week, how do I bench Jared Goff? But on the other hand, he's on the road at Chicago, outdoors.
Tough place to play. But I think the problem is they're on the field a lot, too. Not only have they dealt with some injuries, but they're on the field a ton. There's a lot of quick series for the Bears offense. And then they get to the second half, and they kind of seem to figure it out. But the first half has been so tough that the dam breaks eventually. Eventually, you are on the field so much that you're going to get hit with the big play. And I do think they've had some problems on the back end. Obviously, Jalen Johnson's one of the best corners in football, but he's one man. So they've figured out different ways to attack them. And I don't think their pass rush has been great, which is a big problem on the back end, too. They really need another edge rush threat. So it's a litany of issues for the Bears right now.
Meanwhile, by the way, the Bears, given how beat up the Lions defense is, you could see the Bears moving the ball here. And again, it's why the total is 48 in this one. You could see some back and forth between the two teams.
Our last game, guys, the Cardinals are 4.5-point favorites at Carolina. The over-under similar to the first two. This is at 47. So coming off a disappointing week for MHJ, Matthew Marvin Harrison Jr., you still start him?
Look, again, I think it's a wide receiver 3, but as you see the ranks there on your screen, but boy, it makes you a little bit nervous, right? Here's some positives. He's had multiple end zone targets now in 3 straight games, and the Panthers are a great matchup. They've allowed 25 or more fantasy points to a wide receiver in 2 of their last 3, and they've given up at least 13.7 to a wide receiver in 4 straight. He's the most likely guy to get there, but since week 5, he's wide receiver 53. If you're in the fantasy playoffs, it's despite Marvin Harrison Jr., not because of it. You've likely found some other options.
Yeah. The rundown here says, are you still rolling with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Rolling is very aggressive. It's like you're used to kind of sauntering with Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think that, look.
Starting and stopping.
Yes. Yeah. I think that for the most part, again, he's a viable flex guy, and he's kind of, it's a different type of player, but similar calculation to Jameson Williams, where he has a lot of upside. Like, would it shock anyone if Marvin Harrison Jr. had 2 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers? Not really. Not. Would it shock anyone, though, if he was 4 for 34 with no touchdowns? So, again, very high variance.
That'll do it for What's on Tap, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. When we're back, it's time for Last Call, as Jay and I have our pickup lines for Matthew. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The crowd! It is yours!
There it is. Did not disappoint.
It's like Justin Herbert reacting last night to getting hit.
It's time for Last Call. You know, they took out that line in my read, so I wonder if it was on purpose, but I was not going to let it go.
No, of course not.
All right, so pickup lines.
Yeah.
Not going well for me.
How does this math work out?
But
Weeks.
we're missing many. Like the Denny week isn't in here.
All those bets won.
Yeah, I have some questions about this math, even with my losing record. We'll work on
I'm
this
not
for
even
next
sure,
year, I
like,
promise. We're
when
going to
it
get
says-
Matthew's
when
choices
it says bet
next year.
cashing, does that mean like whether I picked it or not? It
Hey,
just
we're working on all of it.
it's
But we got new ones
it's
for
the
you.
end of the year. It's the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah,
People
yeah.
like,
Everybody's
need a
ready
recount
for-
there. Need a recount of the triumph.
Holidays.
the graphics, you know, it's,
Yeah.
maybe he's wide receiver 33, maybe he's wide receiver 29. It's fine.
You know,
Just
you
throw some
decide if
numbers
you
in
want to
there.
start him. It's
Exactly.
not on us.
Should
What do
we
you got
get
for
should we get a
Matthew?
friendly Santa for the set? No, let's get a creepy one. I mean, look at this.
This Santa is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah. And the worst part was
He's got beady eyes.
6 minutes ago that Santa was holding a knife.
Yeah, it looks like he's got gumballs in his cheeks.
We don't like it.
Anyway.
All right, you know what's also terrifying?
What's that?
TJ Watt, if you're a quarterback.
True that.
So TJ Watt, here's my bet. It's TJ Watt over 0.25 sacks, so TJ Watt to get half a sack or better. The last 11 times he's played the Baltimore Ravens, you know how many times he's gone over this number?
How many times?
It'll be all 11 times
That's
in a
actually
row.
amazing.
TJ Watt shows up in these big games. He's right with the ankle. He's going to play. He was able to practice. I think TJ Watt, for some reason, he is magnetized to Lamar Jackson in these matchups. I think he'll get at least half a sack with the division on the line.
I like it. Matthew, when you're struggling, you go back to an old favorite.
Yeah.
I pitched this to Denny. He didn't take it. I wasn't insulted. It doesn't show up on that graphic. Drew Lock over 17.5 rushing yards. You know what Drew Lock's run for in his 2 starts? 57 and 59 rushing yards. I know he's a little banged up with the heel. Drew Lock's a maniac. When you drop him on the field, he's going to run. He's against the Falcons. They don't really scare you, feels like. But what does scare you is I think Michael Penix could actually get the Falcons a good lead in this game, that the Giants will be in a drop-back script, which will get Drew Lock running a little more. I'm going to play this for the 3rd time in a row this season, over 17.5 rushing yards. I'm surprised it hasn't moved into the 20s or 30s yet.
I am as well. He scrambles a decent amount. I had to use Drew Lock once in our league when the week that Jay Daniels was on a bye. So I'm going to go home with you, Connor.
I'm due.
That's right. You're
due.
due.
Yeah.
You got the track scoot working
Yeah,
today.
feeling good.
Absolutely. Like TJ
Sorry.
Watt, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I like both of those bets, but I know we've tried TJ Watt on a quarter sack before in one of these, and
he won.
Did it win that?
I did it last time we went in Baltimore. He got a sack.
Oh, that's a good
That was-
point. Yeah, that's a good point.
This is the
I
press
like both
play
of them,
button.
but like, why bet on TJ Watt when I can
I was
bet on
about to
Drew
say.
Lock?
Right.
Yeah,
Gives
it's
you a
the
reason to
Christmas
watch
season.
Giants-Falcons.
There you go.
Unbelievable.
Michael
Exactly.
Penix, Drew Lock.
Yeah. I'd
Great
rather
showdown.
bet on Drew Lock not knowing what he's doing than Lamar Jackson
Running away.
Running away. Yeah, exactly.
Good thought
so
process.
I think
Lamar's
both
not
guys
very
get
fast.
a chance of it, but we'll see. All right. That I think what that music means is you don't
We're
have to
outta
go
here.
home, but you can't go. You can't. You don't have to go home. Whatever. Go home. It's the holidays.
Figure it out.
For Jay and Connor and Triumph and Denny, I'm Matthew. We'll see you Sunday for pregame. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.